Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're listening from. I'm Bill Anderson, and we are coming live from the Costa del Sol today. It's it's kind of pleasant day, I think, today, about 19 degrees, somewhere in that region. A little bit overcast, but we can't really complain. I want to welcome my two guests today. Corinne, welcome.
Hello.
David, welcome. Can you hear me, David? I can. David, can you hear me?
Oh dear.
Okay. Yep. It looks like we've got. I can. This is a secret. I can actually see my guests, and I can see David, but I can't hear him at the moment, and maybe he can't hear me. So, anyway, I think David, you maybe need to try to reconnect and see what we can do. So in the meantime, I'll talk to you, Corinne. You're local resident here in Mijas, aren't you?
That's correct.
And when did you get here?
I got here when I was only 10.
Right. So tell us all about that, Corinne.
Well, it wasn't my decision, as you can imagine, at
Sure.
this tiny age of 10. Born in Hong Kong,
Right.
then we moved to Dubai. And when my father retired, he thought, let's all go and live in Spain.
Right. So you were basically sort of dragged over here. Was it kicking and screaming, or how did you feel about it?
I was just thought it was normal.
Right,
We traveled the world, so Spain was another country. We'd been here for holidays, and why not live here?
right. And what was it like coming over here, 10 years old? You'd lived abroad, obviously, but coming into a country where, well, let's just say English wasn't the first language. How did that feel, Corinne?
I don't think for me it was that difficult, but my parents were very clever. They put us into Spanish education straight away.
Right, okay,
So within a year, we were all speaking the language because I'm the eldest of four.
right. So within a year, you were fluent, yeah?
Yes, more or less.
Right. I'm just as we're talking, Corinne, I'm actually sending David a message
I
because
can see that.
David,
I am I
oh,
am online. I can hear now.
oh,
Thank
you
you.
can hear us now. That's great, David.
I apologize. The error was on my side. I had put the computer on to silent for earlier and I had not changed the setting. Can you
Right.
believe it?
Okay. Right, David. So, well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for having me here.
Hello,
And
David.
hi, Corinne. Love the hairstyle.
Thank you. So do I.
So, David, Corinne's telling us that she came out to Spain when her father retired, age 10, was here for a year, into a Spanish school, speaking the language. Same story for you, David?
No, no. Very different story. Um, I was 62 years old when I decided to come to Spain.
Right,
And we left everything behind in South Africa. I'm
right,
from South Africa. We sold up and we made a decision we're coming to Spain. We were actually offered an opportunity via Keller Williams Marbella, the real estate company, international real estate company.
mm-hmm,
And we thought that's an opportunity to come through.
right,
Um, we came on a Schengen visa and went back, organized our lease for our property, bought a motor car, went back and were told it'll take us about 3 or 4 weeks and we should have our visas sorted out.
right.
Well, that worked out to be about a year. And that so that threw plans a little by the wayside. So things were quite challenging from that perspective. And but then we arrived in April 2019
Right.
and since then we've been finding our feet.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that your visa should have taken 3 months and took a year is maybe something we can talk about at some point, because Spain is not, shall we say, renowned for the ease of its bureaucracy, is it?
No. However, I think this was more a fault on the immigration attorney side,
Right. Okay.
which is a completely a different subject.
Hmm.
Um, but they dropped the ball. They
Right.
dropped the ball quite seriously.
Um.
But Spain itself, to actually get in, from my perspective, I had to come in on a business visa, which meant I had
Right.
to submit a business plan.
Right.
And the business plan, now we're talking of bureaucracy. I mean, the plan is 80 pages and it has to be assessed by professionals.
Yeah.
And so it's quite interesting,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Corinne, well, when you came here, we're talking about the 1990s.
That's correct. 1990.
Yeah, well, Spain and Europe were very different places in those days, weren't they?
Very much so. Very much so. I
Just-
can remember, probably like David, must have been mornings, several mornings we spent down at the National Police Station sorting out all the paperwork. But we got there in the end, or my parents got there in the end.
Yeah. The thing is, going back to the 1990s, going to the National Police Station, well, now you can book appointments online, but that's only actually relatively recently. In those days, you had to get down there about 6 o'clock in the morning to
Well,
get your ticket and stand in a queue, and then sometimes if you didn't have your ticket but you were in the queue, they would just come out and they would say, right, that's it, no more for today. And it's like, oh, gotta go back tomorrow.
Yes, that is right. It would have been exactly the same. So we just arrive and basically spend the morning there.
Yeah.
on the technology side, booking online, that itself is also a problem because it took us, for the TIE, I think it took us every day around about 2 or 3 hours looking for appointments to try and get an appointment, for about, I think it went on for about 4 or 5 weeks. And
Right.
eventually we found an appointment. And the closest appointment we could get was Rhonda.
All right.
And
Okay.
Gosh.
so I kept trying. And then the next time we could get the closest was in Estepona.
Right.
So that was for one appointment. So I got the wife in there, kept trying, and then I got for myself in Torremolinos.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it can, but having said that, David, yeah, it's problematic. But I mean, your alternative is getting down there early in the morning, standing in queues for hours, and hoping that you might get a chance to be seen.
I doubt with the current system whether that would work. They're very, very strict on your name not on the list, can't help you.
Yeah, but that really has well, it's kind of been a combination of things, hasn't it? COVID has been one of the, I think,
Yes,
prompters of this, and then obviously
yes,
Brexit has been another prompter, because in Malaga province there are an estimated 75,000 Brits that live down here, and you got 75,000 people trying to make appointments at
yeah.
really half a dozen police stations. That's a big it's a
It's
big commitment,
overloaded.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's overloaded.
Yeah. So, Corinne, you came to school here. You went into a Spanish school, yeah?
That's correct. A private Spanish school. We went to Alboran. It's
Yeah,
between Fuengirola and Marbella.
yeah. I know Albaran very well.
It was a lovely. I did enjoy my time there.
But am I right in saying that really even then Albaran was heading more towards bilingualism than just Spanish, or was it all very Spanish?
Oh, not at all. We were the three of us, the eldest three that went in. We were the first expats to go into that school.
All right, okay. And how
They
was that?
they didn't really want us because we couldn't speak Spanish.
Right. Okay.
And then there was the same year also there were two brothers that came in. They came from Algeria, and they were the other two that went in at the same year.
Right. Okay. So,
So it
so
was not a bilingual school back then.
it wasn't back then. No, I guess a lot of things have changed. Well, it's changed even in the Spanish state system that they're trying to head more towards bilingualism in schools, which I think is a great idea.
Oh, I don't agree. I don't particularly like the idea of the schools being bilingual.
Really, well, I'm thinking about it from the Spanish student's point of view. I think that being exposed to English I think really helps enormously with their speaking of English and their understanding of English. So I'm probably looking at it from that perspective.
But when you think about it, Bill, the issue sort of arises when the people or the teachers that are giving those classes, they're not bilingual themselves.
Ah,
Correct.
yes. Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but
There
yes,
was a
you're right.
project recently um, to, I think it was to school English project for having volunteers that would be prepared to go into the schools to teach English to the students.
Yeah,
But when the COVID came along, that whole project seemed to have fallen down.
yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of that project, Bill.
Yes, yeah, I wasn't part of it, but yeah, I know that they were doing it. To be honest, I was never entirely supportive of this approach because I think if I mean I left high school in the mid 1970s, and even then we had paid teachers coming in. I studied Russian, I studied German, and we had native German and Russian teachers paid coming in to do this. And I think, well, having volunteers involves people in the community and whatever. But I really thought that the system should have paid people to go in and do this, not really
Yeah.
rely on volunteers.
Mm.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think they should be paid if they're going in as professionals and teachers.
Yeah.
And they should meet a certain criteria as well, I would believe.
Well, yeah, not everybody that speaks English can teach English.
Very true.
And we all, oh yeah, I can speak English, so I'll go to schools and teach it. But there are techniques and there are things that the big do's and the big don'ts when you're actually teaching. And I'm not knocking any of the volunteers because I think they were doing a really nice thing and a really valuable thing. But yeah, I think that there should be some kind of criteria for people going in to do that. You know, I used to do English teaching. I was invited to do some work in one of the hotels, and various things happened, and I had to stop, and they brought someone else in, and I got a phone call from the company that was organising this, saying, but there's no way you can go back, and I said, why? And they said, because the woman that we've employed is from Liverpool.
Gosh.
And she was a real scouser. And the students said they're all hotel staff were saying, we don't understand a word she says. Are you going to your work?
Yeah. That is an issue.
Yeah. So anyway, Corinne, you came here when you were 10. David, you came here a little bit later than that.
A few years
A
after.
few years.
But we both have our TIEs.
You both have your TIEs, yes. For those who don't know what a TIE is, it is the foreigner's ID card, which actually says that we are resident here in Spain. So, we're not subject to the same Schengen rules while we live in Spain. And it's a nice little ID card as well, isn't it? Better than the old green paper we used to get.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only challenge I find is that if you change your address whilst you have your TIE card, to have to go in and make another appointment to get the address changed is not
Yeah.
worth it. So you end up having a TIE card with perhaps with your old address,
Yeah.
and it doesn't reflect your new address. So it's just a minor irritation, I think.
Yeah, but it's the same for Spaniards with their national identity card. That they have to do the same. I would guess that if it's not available at the moment, we should be able to do this at some point online if you have a digital certificate. And a lot of people still haven't gone down that route. But yeah, but for Spaniards, that they have to go to national police to get their passport renewed, to update their national identity card, and also to change addresses as well. So it's not any harder for us, I don't think.
I would say it's just as difficult if you're a Spaniard as having a TIE, changing your address. No more
Yeah.
difficult.
No, it's the system. You learn to roll with the punches, but
Yes.
but the things work. It might take a bit longer in some instances,
Yeah.
but it does work.
Hmm.
Things do work.
Corinne, have you ever lived in the UK? Or
No,
never?
no, never,
Never.
never,
You have
never.
set foot there though, yeah?
Oh yes, yes, yes. I have been there about. Oh gosh, the last time I went, I flew into Manchester with my mother,
Right.
Lee, and we went walking in Wales. It was a lovely holiday, and
Okay.
we had the sun. It
Right. My
actually
goodness.
came with us,
You could you
so it
could
was lovely
you
time.
could probably work out which year it was.
Gosh, must
Just
have been
the year they had the
must have
sun in
been
Wales.
2017. 2017.
Day
Yeah.
and time, I'm sure you could remember as well.
Yeah. So do you ever have, you obviously carry a British passport, Corinne.
That's correct.
Have you ever thought about moving to the UK?
No, never.
No. That was very quick.
It never has occurred to me to live in the UK.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't personally want to live there.
No. No.
And now, probably even less so.
Yeah. Yeah. But David, you said that you were given a sort of job opportunity here in Spain, but
That's right.
was that why it was Spain, or did you want to come to Spain anyway?
No. The primary reason was that my stepdaughter and granddaughter had moved to Spain.
Ah, right.
She got married, and her partner had an EU passport, and they decided to go to Spain. And mom was missing granddaughter,
Right.
and I thought Spain would be a nice place to be.
Ah,
And
okay.
so
Yeah.
I followed along.
Uh-huh.
That's about how it happened.
Yeah.
And do you like living here, David?
Love it, love it. It's
So
lovely. It's different. It's very different to where I come from, in terms of the cultures and in terms of the systems and that kind of stuff. But the weather is similar. It's
Hmm.
very similar. So, and the people I find are very friendly. If I make an effort to chat to somebody who is Spanish, in Spanish, and they see I'm really having a problem with my Spanish, they will click over to English, or they will say that they also have limited English, and we'll speak a kind of a Spanglish and understand each other, but there'd be no animosity. There's just a lot more tolerance, and it's
Hmm.
very peaceful, and the tranquility is great here in Spain. So yes, I like it very much.
Hmm.
I'm pleased you do. And Bill, you obviously love it here too.
Yeah, I've been here. Well, I've lived here permanently just under 20 years. It's going to be 20 years next year. And for me, it's home, Corinne. I can't really imagine living anywhere else now, to be honest.
We've decided to make Spain our home as well, because we've cut all our ties with South Africa. I've got no investments there, no property any longer.
Right.
It's all sold, and there's no plan B.
Hmm.
There's only one plan, and that's to survive and to make it happen in
Hmm.
Spain. So we're here
Yeah.
to
So,
stay.
so Corinne, if you were going to sell Spain to people or sell the Costa del Sol, what is it about living here that you think you would want to promote or emphasize? What is it about living down here?
I would say, like David, firstly, the people,
Right.
at least in southern Spain. I think it's slightly different in northern Spain. and the weather.
The
I
weather.
could not wake up to grey skies every day of the year. I want
No, yeah.
the 350 days of sun.
Yeah, I know, I know. Well, listen, my wife, who is Spanish, she loves Scotland, absolutely loves it. And she did say a few years back, you know, I think I'd really love to live in Scotland. And I
Uh-huh.
said, sweetheart, I don't think you would survive the first winter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because even though she was born in Madrid, and Madrid, for people who don't know, have really quite extreme temperatures. It's
Yeah.
very hot in the summer and can be really cold, including snowing in the winter. Um, but you know, it's the highest. It's completely landlocked. It's the highest capital in Europe. So you have this dry heat and dry cold. Not, not this horrible, dingy stuff that you get in Scotland, where you've got 90% humidity with winds coming from the Arctic and all the stuff that comes with it, you know?
Do you miss Scotland, Bill?
No. I'm, I,
That
I'm,
was quick as well.
I miss people. I love. Well, we haven't been back for over 2 years now, but yeah, I miss visiting it. But I worked in a very kind of political area in Scotland, and to be honest, I was getting fed up with the politics, um, because I worked broadly within the health sector, and the politics was getting terrible, and I think it's probably got worse. So I was quite glad to leave that behind, to be honest, and kind of start all over again.
Great. Yeah, I find that all along the coast that I've visited and I've been, certainly the people have been great. The restaurants, there's such a variety of restaurants to go to, and the cuisine that is available. It's not just Spanish, obviously. There are many different influences from so many different cultures. I understand that in our Mijas area, I read somewhere, I think there were 150 different nationalities in our environment. I don't know if I got that figure right.
I think it's about 120, roughly. Yeah, but it's a lot of different nationalities. It's about a third of the population are what they call them here, foreigners. I like to call us the internationals.
And Bill, do you know what the percentage is, for example, down in Fuengirola? Is it the same, about a third as well?
I don't know, but I think it must be somewhere. It's getting close to that, I think. But I think a different mixture. For some reason, that there's a huge Finnish population in
Yeah.
Fuengirola. And I think maybe the balance of nationalities in Fuengirola, which is, well, actually, if you didn't know, Fuengirola used to be part of Mijas. If you go back far enough, it was all part of Mijas, and it's a fairly smallish town. Well, not small. It's about 80,000 people, I think. But it all packed into a fairly small area. But I think that the mixture of nationalities in Fuengirola is a bit different. Lots of Brits there, obviously. Lots of Finns. I mean, they've even got Finnish schools. I think there's a either Norwegian or Swedish school as well in
Swedish,
Fuengirola.
yes.
So I think maybe more Scandinavians and further Northern Europeans settling in Fuengirola. Yeah.
I know there's also, where's our closest German school? Because I know there's a strong German population and Dutch
Yeah.
population here as well.
There's a German school just about 20 minutes from here, up on the top of an area called La Mairena.
Ah,
So
just above Alberia.
above our area, way up on the top of the hill. Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to have a school up there as well. I managed some summer camps up there, so we used the German school. It's a horrible drive up, and you get three quarters of the way up, and your ears pop in the car, you know, because it's getting pretty high pretty quickly. But yeah. Okay, listen, Corinne, David, we're going to take a short break. And welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson. We're coming live from the Costa del Sol with my guest today, Corinne Beaton and David Enslin. Corinne, you came here when you were 10, David, slightly older, but you're both residents here on the Costa del Sol. Yeah, we talked about the weather, and yeah, I think, we all enjoy the weather, don't we?
Yes, indeed. This I would not be able to live with grey skies, as
Yeah,
Corinne mentioned earlier. The average weather in the UK being grey, grey, grey,
yeah.
wet, wet, wet. No, thank you. I would go into depression mode very, very quickly.
Yeah, but it's not just a superficial thing, is it? Saying, "Oh, we love the nice weather." What do you feel we can, what do you feel the weather adds to our quality of life, Corinne?
I would say the fact that even if you're on a very tight budget, you can just have a picnic, make up some sandwiches, take your cool box down to the beach or in the countryside. The weather's lovely, the sun's shining, and you have a marvelous day.
Yeah,
And it cost you nothing.
right. So it's not all about eating in fancy places and spending a lot of money and as you say, you can do it really within your budget. Yeah,
Of course, it costs you nothing to
yeah.
just have a nice day.
And I think it's also worthwhile saying that, you mentioned this, Corinne, just there, that, yeah, of course, we in Mijas, we have 14 kilometers of beach. Um, but, we don't have to go very far inland to get some beautiful countryside settings with rivers. And you go over to the Guadiaro Valley, which is maybe an hour and a half from here. You've got a river that's there all year round, summer included. You can have picnics by the river, and it doesn't have to all be beach, 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 does it?
Not at all. Doesn't have to be beach, beach, beach. We can go to Cordoba. We can go skiing in Granada. We can go to Ronda. Just everything within 2 hours, really, in the car,
Yeah,
each way.
sure, sure. What about, are you a beach guy, David?
My wife is. I not particularly. If you put me on a motorcycle and point me in a direction, I'm happy. I'm gone. Put a tent on the back. I'm in the mountains. I'll be happy. Thank you.
So is the motorcycle a middle-aged thing, David, or have you always been into motorcycles?
I've been riding since I'm been 14 years old. So yes,
Okay,
I had to sell 5 of them when I left South Africa. So yes,
right.
Wow.
motorcycles in my blood.
And
Something you don't get rid of.
there's a lot of sort of motorcycle clubs and things down here as well, where people go out together, drive to a place, sit and have some nice lunch, and maybe drive back a different route, aren't there? It's very popular.
I've seen that. Yes, I'm a bit reluctant to be part of groups simply because you never know the riding experience of the people you're riding with.
All right.
So I'm a bit of a lone rider. I prefer that
Mm-hmm.
because then I kind of keep away from accidents.
Right.
That's just a philosophy that I have.
Right. Listen, guys, I think we're painting a very nice picture of the Costa del Sol, and that's right to do that, because I think if it was a unpleasant place to live, we wouldn't be here. But what are the things that do you think people need to consider or watch out for, or what are the things that sometimes just get us down about living down here? What about you, Corinne?
Um, I think sometimes paperwork can be tedious and
Hmm.
can take a long time. That sometimes can get on my nerves. But I think I would say electricity prices
Oh
is
yeah,
definitely on in my top three at this moment in time.
yeah, but because the prices have gone up and they're going up another 4.5 times, I think, next week or something,
Yes.
just in time for Christmas. Um,
In time, they normally do it in time for Christmas or just after Christmas. So it's one or the other.
yeah. But we live here. It's 19 degrees outside. Surely we don't need much electricity to live here.
But it does sometimes get quite cold. It
Yeah,
does. We forget it. Spanish houses aren't always geared for the cold.
No.
So
I've
they
discovered.
work, yeah, well, 9 months of the year, and then we have 3 months where really we can be suffering if we don't have a bit of heating.
Yeah.
And the marble floors definitely don't contribute towards the heat element. It's certainly very, very cold.
No.
Rugs,
The marble
David.
floors are.
Rugs. You need rugs everywhere.
Mm.
Because you're absolutely right, Corinne, that, the Spanish houses are not designed, well, Spanish houses down here on this part of the coast. If you go out to the north, you're talking about different sort of construction altogether with houses. You go to Madrid, you've got central heating, you've got double glazing, you've got all, down here, they tend to be basically just big concrete blocks, don't they? And we
That's the thing.
sometimes go outside to get warmed up. When
Oh
it comes to
yes,
sort of autumn and winter, it's actually
yes.
warmer outdoors than it is indoors, isn't it?
Hmm. Which is ludicrous,
100%.
but it is the case. Open the door, let the sun in, and then you're warm,
Yeah,
and inside you're freezing cold.
yeah,
100% correct. Yes.
yeah,
And I find uh, with my business, many people want south facing properties only, so they can enjoy the sun um, all day long on terraces and that kind of thing.
yeah,
So they don't want to be restricted to indoors because of it being cold.
Hmm.
yeah,
Colder, cooler. It's lovely in the summer, beautiful in the summer. But when it gets towards the winter, and this is my third winter now, I think,
yeah.
it's yeah, it's a little cool.
Yeah, and most houses are not built with any kind of in this area, they're not generally built with any kind of central heating.
No.
Uh, and actually, trying to put central heating into one of these houses is not really that easy, is it? Because you have to drill through walls and drill through floors, and it's not like certainly in the UK where you tend to have wooden frames and air gaps underneath where you can get under and put the pipes in and everything. Everything would need to be dug into walls, and yeah, it would get a bit complicated.
Yeah.
So that you're starting to count your electricity bills now, Corinne, yeah?
Well, that's you have to pay for electricity, but I just think it's really not fair. The
Yeah,
amount of money they make every year, it's billions and billions, and I just think it's a necessity now.
yeah.
Just like people being able to go out and buy their bread, their potatoes, electricity. We can't live without electricity.
No, we can't.
It's not a luxury anymore. It's not.
So there is an off-peak period, which is from midnight till 6 in the morning. So do you get up at 2 in the morning to put your washing machine on?
No, I'm not going to do that. And I don't iron, so that's not an issue there. No electricity is going on ironing.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Sound like my home. We do the same thing, but
Uh,
we make use of the tariffs over the weekend because then the tariffs are at its lowest over the weekend. I'm certainly not going to be putting a washing machine on between 12 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't make sense. It's crazy.
no,
Uh,
and I just imagine all these people that living in big apartment blocks, and the whole place starting to shake like there was an earthquake because everybody's put on their washing machine at 12 o'clock at night or something.
but the Spanish will, because as you know, the Spanish they are cleaners. I mean, they love to have everything so
Yeah,
clean
I
and
know.
spick and span, and they iron their clothes. So no doubt it does actually happen that at 12
yes.
o'clock the washing machines will go on
Yeah,
and they're all ironing.
yeah.
What I've noticed since my first visit to now, which is a period of about 3.5 years now from the Schengen visa that I had
Mhm.
until now, the petrol price has gone up quite substantially. It was, I think, €1.24 for regular petrol,
Mhm.
€1.25, and now we're seeing 1.59. So
Yeah,
that is something I've noticed. But I believe that might be to do again with COVID and with recovering funds and that the government might have loaned from from the European Union. So
yeah. I mean, all the energy costs have gone up. The electricity, the gas has gone up. We don't use very much. We use butane gas for cooking, in the kitchen, and I think we replace one bottle. I mean, a bottle lasts us about 8 or 9 months. It's pretty good. But we replaced one last week, and I think it was about 20 euros.
yeah,
Uh,
20 euros 84 cents
yeah,
to be
and
exact.
normally we would have thought about paying 14 or 15 euros for a bottle of
Correct.
gas. And if people are
100%.
using that to heat their house, then again, like the electricity prices, that's going to really push the cost up. Because people do use gas heaters around here as well. These portable gas heaters. I'm not a big fan, but people do use them.
What I also enjoy very much is that we have so many different supermarket brands to choose from,
Hmm.
and um, and the variety of products that they offer, and each one seems to specialize in something a little different to the other,
Right.
and and that gives you such a wide choice
Hmm.
of different food types and food stuffs that you can
Yeah.
get, and that's very interesting for me. And then
Hmm.
I believe there are Dutch supermarkets. There are obviously English supermarkets. There's for the Norwegians, they have supermarkets, so
Right.
people can actually get the food or the food stuffs that are accustomed to getting from where they come from. They can buy at these outlets. So
Hmm.
that to me is quite a nice touch. Yeah.
Yeah. Corinne, are you, you've lived here since you were very young.
Hmm.
Um, are you in your eating habits very Spanish, or have you brought a lot with you from your UK background, say via your parents?
No, I wouldn't say UK background because my mother, she always would cook international dishes.
Ah,
So
okay,
I would say it's a very funny mixture of everything because
right,
lots of spices and just nice, good, healthy, wholesome cooking.
yeah. So
But I couldn't classify it as British or Spanish or Indian or Middle Eastern. It's just how she cooks, and I cook in the same fashion because that's how we've always eaten.
yeah, and if you lived in Singapore, I guess there's an Oriental sort of touch to some of your cooking as well, yeah.
Yes, and my mother, she used to go to a lot of cooking classes to be able to learn and know how to use the spices. So that's what we've always had at home.
Yeah,
So you end up cooking in the same way.
yeah.
I
So
wouldn't know how to make a steak and kidney pie, for example.
really,
Or a Yorkshire pudding for that matter.
Oh, I can do that. I've tried.
yeah.
Jamie Oliver taught me how to do that.
Oh,
Good
he's
stuff.
a great guy, Jamie, isn't he?
He's got good books.
What
We
about yourselves,
we haven't.
David?
Sorry, Bill.
Have you gone down the sort of Mediterranean route, or has your eating pattern stayed pretty much the same as they were in South Africa?
Yeah, pretty similar to what we had in South Africa. What we miss in South Africa, we would have what people call a barbecue. We call it a braai,
Right,
which is an outside fire, and you do your meat on the fire, and with that you have certain foods that go along with that.
right.
So we do miss that because we can't get some of the foods that we would normally get in South Africa,
So
like
crocodile and
yeah, yeah. But it's I would say not exactly the same as in South Africa. It's a semi-Mediterranean kind. We eat more salads now as well.
right.
Um, make use much more of olive oil. We
Hmm.
didn't do that in South Africa. Olive oil wasn't for us. It wasn't very achievable. For some other reason, we couldn't find it too often in the stores that we used to shop at. So yeah, it's on every shelf, and so that's a simple difference that we have.
Mm,
We find that the meat here doesn't appear to have the same texture
mm,
and the same flavor as we're accustomed to from South Africa. Although the quality of the meat is very good here, but it's
yeah.
just not the same texture and the same
Hmm.
flavor. Um, and then, of course, we are the originators of Nando's chicken. So every person from where I come from, I actually know the original owner of Nando's that the concept came from.
Hmm.
Um, but the everyone in that area, well, not everyone, but most Portuguese people in that area in South Africa, they do their own version of peri peri chicken. So
All right.
peri peri chicken is something that we really enjoy and like. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the food. And you know, I think you both said it in one way or another that pretty much, you know, with exceptions, you can just about get anything you need here, can't you?
Yes.
You go into the municipal markets, which are generally indoor markets, and you go to the spices stalls, and they're fantastic. You know, you're not buying
That
little
is true.
jars, you know, that you got, 25 grams in. You go in and you buy what you want, and they've got masses of choice, haven't they, in terms of really every kind of spice and herb you can think of.
Absolutely. Yes, that is true.
And I also like how the Spanish, they're very good with their vegetables. You can obviously get anything that's been imported and out of season, but when something is ripe and it's the time it's supposed to be harvested,
Hmm.
the produce is lovely.
Yeah,
It's lovely.
yeah.
So when it's courgettes are in, or aubergines are in, or the oranges, anything, and it's just so nice to see that.
Yes, yeah, and everything's big. You go buy peppers; they're enormous compared to what you sort of used to seeing, certainly in the UK. You know, I see people coming on holiday and going into the street markets, the mercadillos, and they're looking at the fruit and vegetable stand, and I know what they're thinking. If everything looks so big, the oranges are big, the peppers are big. It's incredible, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's lovely. As you say, the mercadillo is a lovely place to go and shop,
Yeah.
and we should all do it to keep them going,
Yes,
rather than going to the supermarkets.
I agree.
Yeah, because these guys have a really quite a tough life,
They
don't
do.
they? They're packing up every day, going to a different place and setting up their stalls. And it was windy on Saturday, and some of them were having to sort of just about hold things down. And it's really not an easy life, but it gives us access to a very good range of fresh products, doesn't it?
It does. And
Yeah,
that's why we should use them, because otherwise it will, like the little small corner shops, they will just suddenly disappear overnight.
yeah. Are you a big fish eater, Corinne?
I do eat like fish. I'm not great at cooking it though, sorry.
Right. Okay. What about you, David?
I
Fish?
enjoy fish, but like Corinne, not very good at preparing and cooking it. No,
What
I'll
about,
eat it.
what about Tessa? She good at cooking it?
Are you good at cooking fish, Bill?
No, not really. I don't like fish very much. I do eat fish from time to time, but my wife would just about live on fish if she could. But I'm not really much of a fish eater, I'm afraid.
Meat eater then, are you?
I'm more of a meat eater. Yeah, I find fish a bit too fishy.
Right. Okay. That's strange.
Yeah, yeah, but we do have fish from time to time, but my wife also is concerned about the amount of rubbish that we're pumping into the seas, and then people eat fish as the healthy option, and
Mhm.
although she does like fish very much, sometimes she says, I don't know about this, I don't know about that," because she's getting a bit concerned about the levels of pollution in the seas and the chemicals that are going in and the sewage that's going in, treated or not. And sometimes she goes, no, no, I don't want to eat any of that. So, but this is not a Spanish thing. I think it wouldn't really
No,
matter where we were, but
no.
obviously if it's coming from the Mediterranean, I mean, the Mediterranean's a pond, it's not really a sea.
Exactly.
No.
But
I,
I don't think it's any worse than the meat we're eating.
Yeah,
So best not to think about it.
you
yeah.
are You're probably right. Dave, our producer, has just said, "You've just put me off my fish pie." Sorry about that, Dave.
What I do like is that when you go into the shops like Mercadona, the fish section is unbelievable. I've never seen so much choice of fish
Yeah.
as you see there. And it's really a very wide variety. Some of them are a little bit scary when you look at it, but yeah, it's a wide variety. Yeah.
Do you like octopus, David?
Calamari, yes. Octopus, when I look at it in its raw form, I turn left and walk on.
What about you, Corinne? Octopus?
I don't mind it, but if it's cooked nicely, and I don't know how to
Yeah.
cook it, but sometimes it can be rubbery and chewing gum like.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, it has to be cooked to perfection. That's very true. But you get sorry. Dave is sending me comments here, and I'm not even going to repeat them. Yeah, getting it cooked just right. I have to say it's something I really enjoy. It's quite expensive, but I do enjoy it. We probably don't eat it that often, but I think it's a bit of a delicacy. And it's got quite it's a delicate flavour, and if you get it cooked nicely, a nice texture. But the calamaris that you're talking about are really kind of squid rings type things, which are cooked in batter, and everybody likes those, no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like those.
yeah,
They're easy to digest. They're easy to digest, yes.
yeah. And I have to say, I'm probably more of a fan of what they call the fritura, which is a Malaga speciality, which is a whole selection of fried fish, usually in batter and things. I do go for that, I have to say.
That's lovely. I like going out for that.
Yeah.
Give me a piece of red meat, nice steak, and a sausage that we call boerewors,
Yeah.
and a good fire, and I'm happy.
And a nice big slab of wildebeest or something, David, yeah?
Well, that's when you can get one, but normal beef is fine, steak.
Yeah,
But we have ostrich meat. We have all kinds of. I've eaten crocodile meat as well
yeah,
in South Africa. It's interesting,
yeah,
but red meat with a nice fire, couple of cold beers, and with what we call pop and sauce, which is a maize.
right,
It's a maize that you prepare. You can have it either as a stiff preparation or as a crumb preparation, and you have a very spicy
hmm,
kind of a sauce that goes with that. So
right.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm happy. I'm in my element.
I'm getting hungry. Right.
So am I somehow.
You can have
Corinne,
Dave's fish pie.
I can have Dave's fish pie. Now, I,
Hey.
I think I'll pass that on to Vicky. Corinne, our time, believe it or not, is really running very short now. Would you recommend the Costa del Sol for people for coming here to live? I'm not talking about holidays, for coming to live. Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it, but I also think it's not going to be for everybody.
Right,
Because if they don't try to mold to the Spanish, to the system, they're just going to have headaches
right.
and they're not going to enjoy it.
What about you, David? 2.5 years here. Would you recommend
I
it?
I agree with what Corinne has to say. However, I think if they come, they need to be self-sufficient
Yeah,
because the job opportunities are not. There are not many job opportunities,
yeah.
and unless they're entrepreneurial and they're bringing something new, rather if you're self-sufficient, definitely come. If you're not, then I'm not so sure. But otherwise, I agree with you 100%, Corinne, with everything else you've said.
Yeah.
And you have raised a very good point as well. As you say, job opportunities here in Spain, it's not easy. It's
No,
not easy. You
it's
have to
not.
think out of the box, and you know that, Bill, as well.
Of course I do. And it's not even that easy to be self-employed. It's very, very expensive to be self-employed out here.
Yes, absolutely true.
Corinne, you know, don't you? You know.
Yes.
Listen, David, Corinne, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been fun, and I hope that people have enjoyed just learning a little bit about the real side of life here, not the brochure side of the Costa del Sol. And well, can I wish you and all of our listeners today a very good weekend. And Corinne, we're going to go out with another one of your requests, and it's going to be from Louis Armstrong. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll be
Thank
back
you.
next week.
Thank
You
you,
take
Bill.
care now.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
Corinne. Bye-bye, Bill.
Bye.
Your number one internet radio station.
Expat